Greetings everyone from another new video. In this video we're going to talk about why Breaking Bad is a legend. I would love it if you subscribe to my channel first because I put a lot of work into these videos and your subscription encourages me to make more videos. Let's move on to the video. The best show of the 21st century is very difficult to write about. There are dozens of events that made the series legendary, and it is very difficult to describe these events. That's why I want to start with concrete data. What you see on the screen right now is an infographic. To create this graph, the colors of the clothes worn by the characters from the first episode to the last episode are juxtaposed. There are so many readings that can be made from this graph that I don't know where to start. For example, Walter White prefers light colors in the first episodes, but as the episodes progress, the clothes he wears get darker and darker. In other words, Walter White's gradual transformation into Heisenberg affects his choice of clothes, and I think Breaking Bad is one of the shows where character development is best handled, maybe even the best. I'm a person who believes that a good person can become a bad person and a bad person can become a good person. I've witnessed this many times. It took me a long time to notice the change in Walter White's character. Even though the character was getting closer to the dark side in each episode, I didn't realize for a long time that he was turning into a bad person because I thought he was only doing it for his family, until that moment when Walter watched Jane die. That was a big surprise for me because up until that point I thought he was just a man who committed crimes for his family, but when I looked back at what happened, I realized that it didn't happen overnight and that Walter was slowly turning into a character who could do that. That was the first thing I appreciated about the show. And Walter is not the only one who goes through this character change. All the characters who have an important role in the show have similar stories of change. I want to go back to the topic of clothes and colors and talk about Hank's wife Marie. As you'll notice, Marie wore purple in almost every episode, until the last episodes. For those who don't know, purple represents nobility, wealth, and self-preservation in human psychology. In fact, until the 19th century, purple was a color that only the rich could wear. Because it was a very difficult color to find in nature, it was also very difficult for people to access it. Anyway, Marie ignored or was indifferent to most of what was going on around her in the series. She never wanted to go out of her comfort zone. Hank, on the other hand, preferred the color orange, which represents authority and the family man. However, over time, as he gave up this protective attitude, we can see that the color of his clothes changed again. Marie does not change her dress color until Hank's death. However, after his death, she replaces the protective authority figure that is missing. In her life. So she starts wearing orange. As I said, we could read about the show all day long looking at this graph, but I won't go any further so as not to bore you. Instead, I'll talk about the number of episodes of the show. Here's the thing about the American TV industry. Every producer, without exception, wants their series to see at least the 7th season, and they usually do everything they can to extend the show until then. Because if a show doesn't make it to the 7th season, its value goes down. So here's the thing, if a series reaches its 7th season, it will have roughly 70 to 140 episodes. So it's important that it reaches that number of episodes. American television is divided into 4 seasons. For example, if you have a 70-episode series, you can auction it to any channel you want. That channel will air it every weekday between 9 and 10. But if it's 40 episodes, no channel wants to buy it, because the channel cannot fill one of these 4 seasons. So the channel would need a second series, and its schedule would be disrupted. This is why many series end later than they should. Even though the story is close to the end, the story is extended with empty episodes. However, in Breaking Bad, instead of extending the series, the producers showed a very honorable behavior and ended the series before it reached 70 episodes, even knowing that it would make a loss. Nowadays, thanks to online platforms, this situation is slowly starting to break. People are now saying that there is no such obligation on the online platform anyway, and started to finish the series when it was supposed to end. Yes, I've talked about the character development in the show, But I think there are many characters that deserve to be mentioned individually. For example, the famous lawyer Saul Goodman, or the legendary crime lord Gustavo Fring, or his hitman Mike. These and others are such examples of quality characterization that each of them deserves a spin-off series. The character analysis is so detailed that even in the first scene where we see the character's soul in Breaking Bad, there is a 60-page character analysis of the character, which is much more than the average number of pages. Normally, when character analyses of side characters like him are prepared, they usually don't exceed a few pages. The actor is given only a few pages of information and the actor shapes the character according to this information, but as I said, Bob Odenkirk has a 60-page character analysis. Now I have the following observation. For a TV series, a movie, or even a game to become a legend, it has to have a significant impact on real life. So, in my eyes, a production is not a legend if it doesn't affect real life in a good or bad way. This is the real-life impact of Breaking Bad. As you know, the character Walter was producing a synthetic drug called methamphetamine. In fact, the methamphetamine that Walter produced in the show was colored blue because it was more than 99% pure, which is impossible in real life. It is impossible for methamphetamine, no matter how pure, to be blue without the use of colorants, but not everyone knew this was impossible. That's why tens of thousands of tons of methamphetamine colored with food coloring were seized in the U.S. Because people saw blue methamphetamine on the show, they thought it really existed and they wanted to try it. In short, even though it had a bad impact, the show managed to have a very important impact in real life that in fact, at that time, the actors had. To explain the dangers of drugs in the programs they participated in many times because of this series. I think the attention to detail in the series is also very admirable. For example, Walter's pants, which he took off and threw away in the first episode of the series, appear in a scene 4 years later when Walter is passing through the same place. I wanted to mention these and similar details because I liked them. The last thing I want to talk about is empathy. In TV series or movies, if you want to make the audience empathize, there are two basic and different methods. Point one is to put the character in a corner. That way, every time the character does something, there is nothing else they can do. I would have done the same, where you make the character feel wrong. If the character is wronged, the audience quickly empathizes with him and adopts him. Breaking Bad did both. For example, although Walter is a very good chemist, he has to work at a car wash after school to support his family. He still can't make ends meet. So, even though he works so hard, life is not fair to him. In short, he is not treated fairly. On top of that, he is backed into a corner. He learns that he's going to die soon. And he realizes that when he dies he can't leave anything to his family. So, he's backed into a corner. He has no choice but to get involved in crime. Everything he does until Jane's death, he does because he has to. This is not only true for Walter. You can easily empathize with almost every character in the series, which plays an important role in making the series the legend. By the way, I don't need to talk about the acting in the series one by one. All of them have performed at a very high level. Yes, friends, that's all I have to tell you. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe so that you do not miss your favorite series when it comes. If you have subscribed, I would be very happy if you recommend me to your friends. Hope to see you next time. Goodbye.